There's been an outpouring of emotion and stories as Sir Robert Bom Gilles' life and legacies celebrated. The last living link to the 28th Māori Battalion finally laid to rest in Rotorua. Our Māori Affairs correspondent, Te Aniwa Hurihanganui, was there.
The main road into Ōhinemutu lined with mourners. Here to remember and to farewell a fallen soldier. Sir Bom's casket lifted onto a gun carriage for his final journey, the army at his side. During his service, Sir Bom's grandson said he wouldn't have wanted all the fuss.
Korostangi was everything he didn't want, the honours, the tributes, the speeches, the purupuruaki that finished at 3 a.m.
But that was him, humble, humorous, hard-working.
But people need to stop telling the story about us just standing there while he was working on the roof. We weren't just doing nothing, we were going to catch him if he fell.
Sir Bom didn't think he was worthy of the attention.
His character is so funny because we're actually down here for the presentation of B Company medals. They gave him a beautiful taonga, you know, and it was a greenstone mere. And so he walked back and he said, "Buck, what am I going to do with this? Chuck it in the drawer and shut the door and never see it again," you know?
But as the last man standing, he couldn't avoid the limelight.
Uncle Bom, that window to the 28th Māori Battalion.
I think a lot of
it's a really nice imagery, the window. Like I think I wrote in the description for this show, I think I did. It got deleted once, so it might have been. It's like this is a character from yesterday. When we're losing all these characters from yesterday, like have to be in your 90s now to be in World War II, basically, and a person of a different age who's been lost. Forget all the things he actually did as well, but just from yesterday. It was a nice way to think about it.
Window to the 28th Māori Battalion.
I think a lot of our young people don't realise that it wasn't just about a war overseas, it was about our rights as citizens in this country.
But long after he returned, he had to keep fighting for Māori veterans to be treated equally.
The Māori Battalion were very good at what they done and got treated like crap. It's still happening today. You know, racism, you know, discrimination. We haven't moved on.
On
the way to his final resting place, Sir Bom took one more journey through the pa, the Māori Battalion flag flying high.
I remember about a decade ago when Tau Bom and a few of his mates were getting together, they said to each other, "Last man standing, put out the lights."
That time's now come, a chapter closing on a piece of our history.
There you go, Chewie. There's a story from One News tonight. Your bag, baby.
Yeah, I've read a lot about the Māori Battalion. Had a relative that would have been fighting in the same areas of Greece and Crete at the same time. You know, he lied about his age to go away and fight. 17 years old. And I think, you know, Buck touched on it a little bit there. There were still a lot of different reasons that the Māori Battalion volunteered. It would have been adventure. It would have been a way to go overseas and that sort of thing. But there was a large portion of them that were fighting for recognition that they were part of modern New Zealand.
Yeah.
And isn't it strange that we're still talking about that?
Yeah.
It's worth noting that the reason that the Māori Battalion stayed so organised after the war is because they were like, some of them didn't get their medals. They weren't given their medals. Nobody chased that up until recently, when so many of them had passed on. I think it comes down a lot. Like, he was given a New Zealand honour, there's a knighthood. He'd already declined it once. He had to be convinced to take it. And his reasons for that is there are many soldiers who did more and who have never been recognised. I accept on behalf of all of the boys, all of my mates who served on the Māori Battalion. It's very clear from everything that has been said about him. He didn't consider himself worthy of those honours until he was told that it's not just for you, it's for everyone. It's for the ones that aren't here. And I think as these old soldiers pass, it's a reason why every Anzac Day we say, lest we forget.
Yeah.
Because as the people that were there go, it's up to us who were never there to remember.
Brian says on the text, New Zealand in history, nothing to be celebrated. I don't know if it's entirely agree with that, but I understand there's some dark parts of all countries' histories. And as you're talking, Chewy, I'm just remembering about, I've got a mate, and I won't say what his surname is, but apparently in World War One, for Māori, you didn't even get a paycheck. You could go and you could sacrifice yourself, but you didn't get a paycheck. And the great grandfather or great grandfather of my mate went along and he gave his Māori surname, and they went, "Oh, Lucas," and he went, "Yep." And they looked at him and he goes, something like, "I've got Italian blood in me," sort of thing. And that then changed the family surname until very recently when they went back to the original name. And so they were allowed to go and fight and die, but they weren't worthy of a paycheck. That was World War One, and they're still talking about it in World War Two. And as you're saying, there's a freaking hikoi going on right now where some elements of this they're still talking about today. You know, it's like, when is it time, guys? When does the time come to actually go, okay, fucking David Seymour talking about equality? Yeah, cool. Let's figure that out, eh? Because it's not the way you're thinking to actually all be equal. Just look at the crime stats. Just look at the stats of abuse. Just look at the apology today. Just look at how people are driven into gangs. You know, just look at how people are treated in the justice system. Yeah, we want equality, but you're upside down, brother. It's not the poor old whitey, all the Māoris are getting everything. It's actually the other way around. So I'm with you, Seymour, if you want equality, but what you're looking at is not it. Certainly not it.
Yeah. Certainly not lost on me the timing of all of this.
Yeah.
I like a lot of great work has been done by Māori TV. They always play it on Anzac Day about around the Māori Battalion. And if you have any interest in it, I would say look up what they've done on that, or at least tune into them next Anzac Day.
Yeah.
I've travelled many of the places that New Zealanders have fought and died for overseas. And even as a non-Māori, walking through those cemeteries and just in a foreign country, far, far from home, it always strikes me when I see a Māori name, because you don't see that everywhere else or anywhere else.
All right. I think we might be coming to the end of the show, that is. Not like life or anything. Calm down.
One of the things that has always struck me about the Māori Battalion, they had to fight to have Māori officers.
Right.
The original plan was that their officers would be European.
Right.
And there had to be quite a lot of political maneuvering and that sort of thing to have it accepted that no, like, tribal links and iwi are important to this. These people will follow their own, and they have their own that have the qualities of leadership that we want. And it wasn't just accepted. It was just very, very colonial that, oh, yes, we can have the natives fight, but they must be led by a good Englishman. Thankfully, they were able to solve that before they got to the battlefield. But that's the time that we're talking about. We're talking about after the war, when soldiers came back, they're often given parcels of land to farm. Not Māori.
Yeah.
That was just for the white soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
We just keep doing the same shit.
So
maybe we should stop it.
There you go, Mr. Seymour. What about that intergenerational wealth that could have started after World War II with a parcel of land given to Māori that wasn't? When are we going to make that equal? 80 years later. You know, it's like these people who want to start history from today and people who want to go, yeah, I've hit a home run, not realizing they've started on third base, when there are lots of people who aren't even on the field playing yet, and it's through no fault of their own. Institutional or historical family wealth has come. And like I've said a dozen times before, if your father was the richest person in New Zealand, would you benefit from it? Yes. If your grandfather was the richest, yes. If your great-grandfather, yes. If your great-great-grandfather was the richest person, would you benefit? Yeah, you probably would. Great probably would. Now flip it. If your father was the poorest person in New Zealand, the most vulnerable person in New Zealand, would that impact you? Yes. If your grandfather would it impact you? Yeah, probably. If your great-grandfather was, I bet you the stats for great-grandchildren of great-grandfathers that were the most vulnerable in society would show it probably did still impact a good portion of them. It's like, history didn't start yesterday, you know? It's a perfect example, Chewy. No land for Māori after the war.
Yeah.
And ironically, probably the parcels of land given to those Europeans may well have been Māori land, which was probably taken and never returned.
That's exactly it. Where did the land come from?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so circular.